And importantly for the people that are before me today, we are going to make life in New York affordable again. It's gotten totally out of control. The minute crooked Joe Biden shuffles out the door, I will rapidly rebuild the greatest economy in the history of the world. Look, we had the greatest economy in history. Everybody here, where you have a small business or if you had a job, you were getting more than you ever made. And we had no inflation. We had no 1.4%, considered none, considered better than none, because frankly, none in its own way is a bad thing also. We had a perfect number, 1.4%. It doesn't matter whether you're black or brown or white or whatever the hell color you are. It doesn't matter. We are all Americans, and we're going to pull together as Americans. We all want better opportunity. I'm not just going to promise it. I'm going to deliver it, as I did just a short while ago. Think of it. You know, when I went down to Washington, I was only there 17 times. I never stayed over. I didn't know that society. And we had great people. Look at what we did with economic development, with the rebuilding of our military, with the tax cuts, we had great people. But we also had some people that I wouldn't have used if I had my choice. Now I know everybody. I know the smart ones. I know the dumb ones. I know the killers. I know the weak ones. I know them all. And you're going to see. But everyone was better off. We had the greatest economy in history. Everybody was better off under a man named President Donald J. Trump. Have you ever heard of him? Have you heard of him? We had gasoline down to $1.87 a gallon, and actually times when it was much lower than that. We had a record low poverty rate for black Americans and Hispanic Americans. We had the lowest, we had the best poverty rate in terms of the positive number ever in our history for black Americans and Hispanic Americans. We lifted 6.6 million people out of poverty. Nothing like that has ever happened in our country. And the real middle class income rose over $6,000 a year. Think of that. Under Biden, it's a disaster. Real middle-class income has fallen over $2,000 a year. That's a lot. That's a difference of $8,000. Real earnings for African Americans are down 5.6%. African Americans are getting slaughtered. Hispanic Americans are getting slaughtered. And these millions and millions of people that are coming into our country, the biggest impact and the biggest negative impact is against our black population and our Hispanic population, who are losing their jobs, losing their housing, losing everything they can lose. They're the ones that are affected most by what's happening. Not only the fact that you've lost the use of your schools, your parks, and your hospitals. Joe Biden's inflation. Do they have that? Do they have it? Speaking of the wall, so we built much more wall than we built 571 miles of wall. We had the safest border in history. We were going to put up within a period of 3 weeks. It was all built, laying there, ready to be put up, designed by the Border Patrol, who are incredible people, ICE, who are incredible people, all together. I wanted to put up concrete plank for the contractors here. They didn't want it. They had to have hardened steel. They wanted 6,000, 7,000-pound concrete. They wanted rebar in the middle. They wanted different materials, harder to cut. So we had very hard steel, very good stuff. Everything was good. We had the panel on top. It was called an anti-climb panel. We had the best wall, and it was going to be, we were going to add 200 miles of wall. It would have taken about 3 weeks. And then we had the rigged election. And you know what happened after the rigged election? They took the wall, and instead of putting it up, they sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. And I said, these people really do want to have an open border. And that's what's happened to our country. Our country has gone to hell because of it. It's gone to hell. But I want to thank Mexico. I want to thank, because I went to Mexico. We really have no choice. He said, send him back. There's a chance, send him back. Nobody wants to send anybody back, but you have no choice. This is not sustainable by any country, right? This is not sustainable. But we had Mexico, and we went to Mexico, and I said to the president of Mexico, good man, by the way, a very good guy, happens to be a socialist, but these are minor details. I said to him, Mr. President, we need you to give us 28,000 soldiers to guard the wall. He said, well, how much would you pay for that? I said, nothing. I'm not paying anything. You're sending them in. They're coming in caravans. You have to do it. And he smiled and he laughed. He thought it was funny. He thought it was like, I was kidding. I said, no. They're coming in through Mexico. We need 28,000 soldiers, free of charge. And he said, Donald, I cannot do that. I said, here's what you do. I don't want to embarrass you, so I'm not going to negotiate with you. Send me a negotiator. Give me a top negotiator. I want to see him. And he came to the White House, a very handsome man, dressed in one of the most beautiful suits I've ever seen. In fact, I was going to ask him, who is your tailor? I'd like to buy one of those suits, but I didn't think it was appropriate to start the negotiation that way. And I said, you know that you're going to give us 28,000 soldiers, don't you? No, we are not going to. We will never do that. I said, of course you're going to. 100%. He said, we're not going to. He said, no way. I said, way. You're going to give it. He said, 100%. And you're also going to have a new policy. It's called Remain in Mexico. Nobody can come into our country until they're free. And then you're going to have catch and release into Mexico. You know, we have catch and release into our country. Even if they're criminals, we catch them, we check them, we see they're a criminal, we release them, we say, come back 5 years later, you'll have a court case. Nobody ever comes back. So I said to the State Department, and a wonderful woman, but a bad negotiator, I said to the State Department, give me a top 10 list. Give me a top 10 things. I said to ICE and Border Patrol, give me a top 10. They gave me a top 10 list. And a lot of it had to do with all of the horrible disease that pours through. People that have highly contagious diseases are coming into our country at levels that we've never seen before. So many other things. And they gave me a top 10 list, but they laughed. They said, sir, they'll never do. We've been trying to get this stuff for 25 years. I said, if I were a betting man, I would bet you any amount of money. You'll have it very quickly. So this man comes in. I said, we want a policy, remain in Mexico, Tijuana. Hundreds of probably the fastest growing city in the world for a period of a year. That place was loaded up with people. They weren't allowed into our country. And we had already built a lot of the wall, a tremendous amount, 571 miles. Without that, we couldn't have ever done this. And he said that we're not going to do it, sir. I said, you are going to do it. He said, we're not. I said, here's the story. I'm not going to mess around with you. I have to go. I have a very important meeting, much more important than this. I said, here's the story. You're either going to do it. It's Friday evening. Or on Monday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, we are going to put a 25% tariff on everything that Mexico sends into our country. And then 1 month later, if you don't do it, we're going to put a 50%. Then we're going to go 75. And because I'm a nice person, we're going to stop at a 100% tariff. And and I had it literally written. I'm saying, should I sign it or not? Am I going to waste the ink or not? Because I'll sign it right now. On Monday morning at 7 o'clock, you're going to pay up to a $100 tariff. He said, sir, I'd like to make a phone call. I said, I wonder who you're going to call. Let me guess. You're going to call the president. He comes back 3 minutes later. Sir, it would be our great honor to give you 28,000 soldiers free of charge. It would be our great honor to have a policy of remain in Mexico. Anyway, and we got all 10 things. It took about like 10 minutes. It was not... And now the other day, did you see? Mexico said to crooked Joe Biden, we want $20 billion a year just for the privilege of negotiating with you. We want you to pay us. Did you see that? It was a little article. You hardly... There's a slight difference, would you say? He would have never asked that. He would have never asked it. So he said they want $20 billion. 20 billion, not 20 million's a lot. They want 20 with a B, $20 billion a year, just for the privilege of negotiating with Mexico. And you would never get the things that they gave up, remain in Mexico. They gave up catch and release in Mexico. They gave up everything.